Hello and welcome to Aussie Bikers HQ. I'm Jonesy and we are in the middle of Motorcycle Awareness Month. It's ballooned. It started off as a little week and now it's a month. And we've got an action-packed show. Jane McKellar is going to be joining us. Jane is on the board of the NRMA, the motoring division. You know, when they break down on the side of the road, she's part of that. Well, she's not going to come out and help you, but she is the boss. So everyone look busy. Also, the Women Riders World Relay. Helga's involved in that. Skidpig has managed to pick up a Roadglide CVO and take it for a fang. And what happened to Kosta in Tassie? I was so worried about him. He came a gutser. I hope he's okay. That's all coming up on Aussie Bikers. So we're smack dab in the middle of Motorcycle Awareness Month. It used to be Motorcycle Awareness Week, but it's blossomed like the motorcycling community. And the secretary from the Motorcycle Council of New South Wales is Brian Wood. How are you, mate? Great to see you.
I'm very well.
Sexiest secretary I've ever seen.
Yes, gosh. I'd hate to see what other secretaries you've seen.
This whole Me Too era now, you know, it's dreadful. So tell me something, mate. We've come a long way since I first met you all those years ago with the Motorcycle Council. I've seen some major inroads in what has happened over the last 20 odd years. You know, green slips, lane filtering.
Yes, we've had a number of wins over those times. There's obviously much more that we could do.
Yep.
Motorcycle Awareness Month is an opportunity for us to say to drivers, hey, we're out there, you need to watch out for us, because a lot of those multi-vehicle crashes are the result of drivers not actually looking out. Either they're not looking at all, or they fail to see us in time. So we're trying to get a message to drivers that our safety is very much dependent on them looking out for us.
Great. Well, Brian, thank you for coming in. Coming up on the show a little bit later on from the NRMA, we've got Jane McKellar joining us, and you're thinking, oh no, an insurance company. What would they know about motorcycles?
Not the insurance company,
no.
They're the motoring services side of the
motoring services. But when you think of that, you usually think to the negative, but Jane has a great story, and she's one of us, so we're looking forward to catching up with her.
Yep.
Brian, I'll see you on the road. Shiny side up.
Yep. Well, hoping to see you at Breakfast Talk then.
I'll be there, mate.
Good.
I'll be there.
Excellent.
If you're a regular watcher of Aussie Bikers, you are now familiar with Kosta. He gets out there on his little Aprilia. He's so nice. He's too nice to ride a motorcycle. He went down to Tasmania. It had been some time since he'd been there, and he had trouble last time he was there. This time, Kosta came a gutser in Tassie. I hope he's okay. Let's find out.
This is what you get around on dirt roads. Heaps of fun, but I came way too hot into this corner, launched off the ditch into the air, and now the bike's in the ditch. In the ditch, bro. F***ing hell. Alright, so let's check out the damage. Me, just a bit of dust. No leaks. Couple of scratches there. Oh yeah, okay. I don't think that's going to buff out. Now the only thing is the top box is broken, which is a shame because I keep all the camera gear and everything in there. Let's see if there's power. Yep, power's all good. Let's see if it starts. She's alive!
I woke up the next morning worried I'd be sore from the accident. To my relief, I was fine. The only pain was I was missing my wife. Oh, that's so nice. Who am I kidding? I was missing not being on the bike. Today's day trip takes us around the Cygnet Peninsula with its great mix of riding landscapes. We enjoy riding along dirt roads in the middle of nowhere, dirt roads with single lane bridges, dirt roads past farms, dirt roads in the bush, roads past cute little wooden houses, roads past cute little farmhouses, and then finish up with the best road, the channel. There's just something very cool riding alongside the water, just like this little strip of biking bliss. We return to Hobart to enjoy one last treat. Straight ahead of us is the magnificent Mount Wellington, and that means a quick fang up to the summit. Standing at 1,270 metres, or just over 4,000 feet, she watches over the city and provides wonderful views from the top, and the perfect place to say farewell to the city. Thanks for having us, Hobart. We continue through farms and plantation forests until just out of the city, where we find Mount Field National Park. It's a beautiful rainforest where you can absorb the fresh air, serenity and impressive huge trees. I'm 190 centimetres, about 6'2", and this one dwarfed me. However, the star of the show is a 58 metre, 190 foot multi-tiered cascading waterfall. After a long day of riding in the rain, we reach the second highlight of the trip. However, as the riding conditions aren't the best, let's call it a day, dry off and try again in the morning to fully appreciate the magnificent Lyle Highway. Now, don't be fooled by the word highway, because there are no straight boring sections here. In fact, straight roads suck.
And I'm so glad he's okay. Good on you, Kosta. If you want to find out more about Kosta's great work, go to Moto Passport. Check him out. Motorcycle Awareness Month continues, and joining us in Aussie Bikers HQ, it's nice to have Jane McKellar with us. She's on the chair, not the chair just in our studio, but the board. I've promoted you at NRMA. So you've moved up the ranks.
Don't tell Tim that.
Yeah, women can do anything. So when I say the NRMA, it's not the NRMA as in the insurance part, it's the roadside assistance part.
Yep.
And how big is that?
Well, we have about over 2.5 million members.
Wow.
Yeah, so very, very active and passionate road users that are part of our member base, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And what about motorcycles? Do they feature heavily in the roadside thing? Because I'm with the NRMA,
Yep.
but I've never actually had to use them. Touch wood.
Touch wood, yeah. But our patrols are geared up for doing motorcycle maintenance and retrievals and so forth. And in fact, a lot of our patrol guys are mad keen bikers as well. So I think part of it's about really making the whole ecosystem of the road work together. So whether it be bikes or cyclists or pedestrians or cars or trucks, that we actually are all coexisting.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I don't know who would be the Tyrannosaurus Rex and all that. But I look at you and it's so nice, and it sounds, I don't want to sound like one of those patronising guys. It's so good to see women riding motorcycles. But you're not just riding a motorcycle, you're riding a Fat Boy, which is just, it's so impressive because it's such a great bike. And now I'm sounding like a patronising guy again, because you never, and I've been riding motorbikes since I was 19.
Yeah.
And back then, girls didn't ride motorbikes, and you certainly didn't imagine them riding a Harley Fat Boy.
Yeah. Well, this is my dream bike, I have to say.
It's everyone's dream bike. It's my dream bike.
I mean, it's about 350 kilos to move around, so it is pretty heavy, but once you're on the road, it's magic. And the roads around New South Wales and around Australia are just absolutely magic to ride on. And
where did you actually start riding motorcycles? Where did that hit you?
Well, it was really all my dad's fault. When I was about 8, my dad was a bit later to starting to ride. For him, as I suspect for a lot of us, it was really about the freedom of the road and a bit of anonymity. And I would just hop on the back, and I was brought up in Scotland, and we would go all through Scotland, all through Europe together, and it was just magic father-daughter bonding time.
But we've got a picture here of your dad. So this is your dad on top of. So what's he doing here?
So that's my dad as part of the Royal Marines in the UK. It's their sort of rider group, and he found himself on top of the ladder in one of their display teams.
What, just found himself?
Just happened to be there.
It's a Scottish weekend.
It is, yes. That's what we all do.
So I'm not looking at the Women Riders World Relay.
That's right.
And because we've got Helga, who's coming up in the story very shortly.
Wonderful Helga.
So you rode with Helga?
Yeah, so the Women Riders World Relay started as an idea from the UK, and Hayley Bell, and she started in the north of Scotland, so a place called John O'Groats, which is the furthest north tip. And basically there's a baton that has gone through the whole of Europe, through Asia. It was in Australia and New Zealand last month. Yep. It's now gone all the way through Canada, through the US. It'll right down through South America, heads over to Africa, and we'll finish probably February. And really the purpose of it is to promote awareness of the fact that there are a lot of lady riders out there and women riders. And that, you know, we should be, I suppose, paid attention to.
Well, I think the thing is, the more people riding, the better it is for all of us, because the awareness is high.
Exactly.
Oh, Jane, thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you so much.
Shiny side up. Look out for Jane McKellar on the road. And now here's Helga. What's she up to?
My name's Helga, Purple Possum. Recently, I was part in a huge event called Women Riders World Relay. The World Relay started in Scotland in February. It's going all the way around the world. There's about 100 countries covered. Australia got 13 days in September. My part was to take 4 legs and get 100 girls from point A to point B. I covered, I think, 3,000 kilometres on my week odyssey of riding all over New South Wales with a whole bunch of women following me, and the girls played along, which was hard at times because we had so many different kinds of girls, so many riding skills, so many, you know, experienced, unexperienced girls, and then we had cruisers and sports bikes and little tiny bikes and big bikes. So you had to think for everybody and to make sure that they all got on. A girl called Hayley Bell decided that the world needed to know, manufacturers, that there are a huge amount of women riders. I've always felt that, you know, the guys are so much better. There's so much more for them out there, but now it just gives me that feeling of, yeah, we're girls, we can do all this stuff too. And we succeeded and we all got on. And now we're good friends, now we're doing track days, we encourage each other. A couple of girls had never done anything that big, and they feel so much more confident now because they've travelled with a whole bunch of us and they think they can do it all now, which is awesome.
And now it's time to cross to our Townsville correspondent, Skidpig. Skidpig gets a CVO Roadglide, not to keep, I hope. I should be getting a bike. Where's my bike?
All right, back at Sun City Harley, time for another test ride. Check this out, guys. Custom vehicle operations. CVO time. Let's go for a burn. Oh, damn. CVO! Woohoo! Never ridden one of these before. Now we got this bike for a while, guys, so let's go to the servo, fill it up with some petrol and get stuck into it. So these bad boys don't have a key, you have the fob that's in your, or in my pocket, not in your pocket. So this little beauty is a 2018 CVO Roadglide. Oh yeah. This particular one is stock as a rock. Has not been modified in any way whatsoever. So standard intake, standard exhaust. Yeah, this is as it was traded. It's got everything straight off the bat. You got the cool grips, the black levers, everything's blacked out. Custom paint, big ass brakes, flush mount gauges. We got upgraded speakers, so they've got the little tweeter up there as well. You also have speakers in the saddlebags as well, guys. All right, let's have a look around. Damn, that is just pure sex on 2 wheels. So, 21-inch front wheel. That's the biggest front wheel you can get on a bagger. Factory, 117 cubic inch engine. You got the shark nose fairing, which we all know and love. Custom paint on the CVOs, obviously. Everything you see is stock as a rock. So you've got the big deadly floorboards, heel and toe shifter. Now you do get a key, which is pretty cool. There's a flip key, and as you can see, it has lock and unlock on it. So lock. Can't get into your saddlebags. Unlock. You're in. How cool is that? Well, that's enough staring and dribbling. Let's get to riding.
Oh man, I love those CVOs. I love those road glides. You know what Skiddy's doing at the moment? He's putting some NOS on his dyno. I want to see how that pans out. Keep us posted, Skidpig. If you want to check out his work, go to YouTube, just type in Skidpig. You'll find him easy. Let's go travelling now with the World on Wheels team. Where are they off to now?
On this tour we actually touch 6 different countries in the space of 3 weeks. So we ride from Slovenia to Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, into the Black Mountains of Montenegro, Albania for a day and a bit, then we come back into Croatia, travel the entire length of the Croatian coastline, and then we finish with a couple of days in the Italian Dolomites to practice our cornering techniques.
Now the Dolomites, the riding up there is spectacular. Mountain pass after mountain pass up in the Alps, on the edge of the Alps.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just beautiful, yeah. Every weekend there's a lot of European bikers out there practicing their style and their turns in the Italian Dolomites. It's one of those destinations. Not far from where we stay, of course, is the Stelvio Pass, which a lot of people use their rest day to go and explore. We have a rest day in the Italian Dolomites.
The best day's ride of my life.
I think an unexpected aspect of this tour for a lot of people is the inland countryside. We're all aware of the beautiful, beautiful coasts around countries like Croatia, but it's the inland spots, you know, some of the mountains that you refer to, some of the national parks. Very, very beautiful countryside that we get the chance to ride through.
Sarajevo. I went to the 1984 Winter Olympic Games, which were held in Sarajevo. It's kind of ironic that I now take people back there in the height of summer to go and explore Sarajevo, which is the capital city of Bosnia, of course. Beautiful city, a very beautiful and open and carefree city these days. It's the gateway to the Balkans, beautiful part of the world.
The bikes you have on this tour are predominantly BMWs, aren't they?
Predominantly, yes, but we've got Ducati Multistradas, Triumph Tigers, quite a large range of big bikes, 1200cc bikes, but also quite a few in the mid-range. So lots of different bike options for this tour.
Probably the biggest range of bikes that we have throughout the world.
What were you riding when you did it?
I was on a BMW S1000 XR and it was magic.
Wow, wow.
The Croatian coastline is spectacular. Island hopping, of course, a lot of people, it's one of the world's great sailing destinations, but it's also rapidly becoming one of the world's great motorcycling destinations just because of the fantastic coastal scenery.
Montenegro's certainly lesser known, but in my opinion probably even more beautiful than Croatia.
The weather at the time of the year that we offer this tour is always gorgeous down on the coast. Lots of bathing opportunities and sailing opportunities. The further inland we go, of course, the weather can be a little bit less predictable. Once we get up into the mountains, you get a mountain climate. So in Montenegro, of course, you know, the mountains are quite often shrouded in cloud and mist, but it just adds to the majesty of it all.
The mystery.
Well, what a show. Aussie bikers done and dusted. That is episode 10. So that means there's another 9 episodes out in the ether that you can check out. You can see Calamity Jane. You can catch up when I spoke to the boss of the Highway Patrol. There's so many cool episodes there. Of course, AussieBikers.com for all the information that you need. We'll see you next time. Shiny side up.